In this daily drop, I'm going to talk a little bit about being your own boss and what that can mean. So let's go. Okay, everyone, I am standing here coming out of what I would call a dry spell. And this has happened to me now, career-wise, 4 distinct times for what I would call being a career freelancer, self-employed, running a small company, essentially being my own boss. And it happened to me the first time during or just after 9/11. The second time was during the housing crash in 2008. The third time was during COVID, big surprise. And the fourth time, surprisingly to me, was actually the second half of 2023. So in each one of those times, I went from, in terms of what I do, which is video production, filmmaking, and all of the combinations of those things, producing, directing, DPing, mostly as a day player, and also doing education, from being really here, really, really, really busy, to feeling like I had fallen off of a cliff and taking, what was really, if you think about statistics, a graph that's going up like this, and then it just falling down into a chasm of a dark, like the other side of Earth. And it's a really scary place to be. Now, when I was relatively young, definitely in my teens, I knew that I wanted to do something that was a combination of business and the arts. I also knew that in the long or hopefully short term that I would become my own boss, but I didn't really know what that meant. I was very optimistic. I still am. I always say that I'm a glass half full, grain of salt person, but I didn't really know what that would mean. And I especially didn't know what it would mean when it gets really hard. And the hardest one probably for me when I look back, the really hard one was in 2008, because we had just heard we had heard a lot of things back then, but we had just had our third kid, and we went into a period of time which was pretty close to an entire year, where I think there was something like $3,500 worth of billables. The first 7 months after COVID were really horrible. And then I started to do work for a company doing remote production, producing, directing. And it was actually a great period of time. And then last year, and I think for sure the strikes had something to do with it, there was other things conspiring in the universe to also make sure that that was happening, and other things were happening. The amount of business that I was getting, or lack thereof, was enormous, or nothing, depending on how you look at it. So I think that what I really want to say here, now that I'm starting to turn the corner, meaning it's starting to look like it's going to get really busy again and things are going to start to go up again, is that I know now, after these 4 different cycles that have happened with this, that I probably personally can't work for a company. I can work with companies, I can have clients, and I can do projects and consulting and all of those things. But I'm just not tuned at this point to go and take a full-time job. Now, let me just say this. I don't think there's anything wrong with doing that at all. And I know people who have had periods of time in their life where they have been freelancers, they've been self-employed, and they have decided after a period of time that there's a different kind of stress associated with that they would rather work for a company than to do that. My viewpoint is that at this point in time, there's almost no job security, no matter who you work for anymore. And we can see that in our industry in a big way as well. So I'd rather be the person who was trying to figure out how I'm digging out of that and figuring that out than be at the mercy of a company saying one day you're an employee, the next day you're not. Again, I don't think there's anything wrong with going that route, and I think it's right for so many people. But I just want you to know that if you're going to go into, or you're already in this, which is being self-employed, career freelancer, however you want to look at it, that you've got to have a pair to keep going. And you also have to know that if you're good at what you do, if you have built up your skill sets and you are somebody who can work with other people and you can be collaborative and you can give value to the projects and productions that you're working on, that it will come back. It will happen again because it just always has. And it's going to be really hard, and you're going to have to dig out from under that each time it happens. I'm really hoping this is the last time in my life that it happens, but it will happen again. But don't feel bad if it's not the right path for you. Just know if you're going into this or you're already in it and you're in that scary place where you're like, I don't know, I'm going to have to give this another month or two and I'm going to have to look for other things. And don't think that those thoughts haven't come into my head each one of those 4 times that this has happened to me, that if you're tuned for this and it's right for you, you just have to persevere. You have to push through. You don't have to be pushy, but you just have to keep those relationships, nurture them, and something will start to happen. And I don't know why this works this way in the universe, but you put stuff out there and stuff comes back. And the more you do that, the better. The more attention you get, not by being a jerk or anything like that, the better. I'm not a hard sell kind of person. I sell conversationally, if that makes sense. It's all about relationships, and it's not about making people think that they have to have something from me. If it's not the right time or I'm not the right fit for something, I just have to let it go and understand that I'm not that person. I'm not that vendor. I'm not that solution that a particular company or client is looking for. So all I'm saying is stay the course. You will come out of it, or decide that this is not for you, which is totally okay as well. I'm really looking forward to what's happening now and what's starting to happen, and what will be happening. That's what I'm really looking forward to, which is really continuing to do what I'm doing here with the Daily Drop, but getting back into, in a big way, production and all of the things that I love to do. And I'm not stopping this. This is part of what I'm doing now, and I love it. And I knew going into it, if I started to get busy in a few weeks or I started to get busy in a few months, that this was now part of what I'm doing. So I'm excited for the future and what's happening. I'm excited for the first time in a long time in terms of the prospects of new things that are going to be happening outside of the Daily Drop. Keep going, keep working hard, keep creating, but don't forget your family and friends. And don't forget to, and I'll see you on the next episode of The Daily Drop.